We're in the Endgame now, the last days before the 2024 election. Harris and Walz are on the road and they're pushing back against fascism's horde. Welcome to Law and Society. Please subscribe and let's talk about this briefly. So, Kamala Harris was asked at the CNN town hall whether she believes Donald Trump is a fascist or not. And she said, "Yes, I do." CNN was quick to label that as Kamala Harris labels Donald Trump as fascist. But the truth is that John Kelly, General John Kelly, a four-star general who worked for Donald Trump as his DHS secretary and then his chief of staff, is the person who is saying this. And it is important at this time to remember that these are words. If people say, "Hey, you can't say enemy within" to Donald Trump because that is, that is targeting him. No, Donald Trump is the enemy from within because he tried to overthrow our government. Let's not forget what he did 4 years ago. He is a criminal defendant right now. He is a convicted felon in New York, and he is in steep mental decline at the moment. So Kamala Harris is out now in the last days of the campaign in town halls, answering questions with real policy answers and going to town halls that are not staged just for her. There are people who are asking her real questions about everything from the economy to women's rights, and she's answering those questions as organically and as adeptly as anybody can answer them. And if you look at the other side, you have Donald Trump staging town halls like Fox did for him. You have Donald Trump dancing in town halls like he did in Oaks, Pennsylvania. You have him declining steeply, selling everything he can to make money. Talk about uh, other people's private parts, suing the Labor Party of the United Kingdom because he believes that they are trying to interfere in our elections. And then there's the obvious xenophobia going after immigrants, saying that inflation can be handled by drill baby drill and no consideration for the environment, targeting Jewish people, targeting immigrant communities to scare these communities into either voting for him or into staying away from the polls, or to put it and or to put targets on their backs so far right militia can come out and go after them, because that we are in such a time that the anybody MAGA and Donald Trump himself targets through transphobia, like schools, teachers, doctors, they all become vulnerable to those lies. They all are threatened by Donald Trump's loyalists when there's no truth about these things. Donald Trump to this day says that he's going to have a mass deportation that'll include legal immigrants as well, those in Ohio particularly. So he's going out and targeting these people continuously. He calls John Kelly a degenerate when he was the one who appointed John Kelly and asked John Kelly to be his chief of staff and his secretary of Homeland Security. But the truth is coming out. The truth of his words, of him mass deporting people, having concentration camps, deputizing and immunizing police forces, turning America into a police state, using the guard and the president's military powers to go after private citizens, to go after the press. These things are fascist inclinations. These are fascist policies. Donald doesn't have a real economic policy other than tariffs and drill baby drill, but he definitely has a mass deportation concentration camp and how to clean them out by deputizing the police and immunizing them. He has that plan pretty set, if you look at all of his talks and his speeches, that plan is set. Like his intentions of doing away with education, the education department, all of those Project 2025 ideals, he is pretty set on those. Whether he denies any part in uh, Project 2025 or not. But be careful now that Donald Trump's allies and Donald Trump will say, oh, look, the left is now calling us fascist. No, Donald, no, MAGA. General John Kelly called Donald Trump a fascist because General John Kelly knows Donald Trump better than most people would, because he worked as closely as anybody could with Donald Trump in the White House as his chief of staff. And I still maintain that, Generals Milley and Mattis need to join John Kelly in another press conference and continue to warn the American people about the danger that Donald poses. Because Donald Trump poses everybody a danger. He poses our democracy a danger. He poses our Constitution a danger. He said he would terminate it. He poses women a danger because he overruled Roe versus Wade. And he will sign any sort of abortion law, national abortion ban that is put in front of him. Don't believe him when he says he's going to protect women, when what he did was disenfranchise women and take away women's rights. So, with that said, we are in the end game. We should expect Donald Trump to throw out dog whistles and start to mobilize his loyalists into scaring, threatening election officials, election workers, and targeting everybody that Donald Trump targets, from immigrant communities to immigrant businesses to educators and schools and election officials and election workers and election polling places and law enforcement and all of these people who are essential workers in our communities and our society are under threat because of Donald Trump's lies, because of his fascist tendencies, and because of his pledge to be a fascist dictator on day one. Remember that. For young people, remember who you're going to be voting for. A lifetime prosecutor and public servant who has served the public all her life, Kamala Harris, or a convicted felon and a criminal defendant in a case where the government alleges that Donald Trump tried to overthrow the will of the people, and somebody who continues to lie to the American people about the 2020 election, and somebody who continues to threaten vulnerable minorities all across the country, including LGBTQ Americans and immigrant communities. Do you want your legacy to be the one to say that, yes, I voted to end my democracy? I hope not. With that said, thank you so much. Hey, Derek, thank you for being here. Please like and subscribe and do share. This is what helps me get the word out. And I will come back and talk to you again soon.